Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of According to Sacha Podcast. And this is not just any episode. It's not just the first episode of this week, this Thursday. It is the first episode of season 5, you guys. We have made it through 5 seasons. And I couldn't have done this without you. So thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you for tuning in to every episode, watching it live, or tuning in on the replays. Thank you so much. And even to those out there who are listening on Spotify, iHeart, Google, Amazon, we're everywhere. It's down at the bottom of the screen. Thank you so much for listening and all the downloads and following and everything. But continue to like, follow, and share all of our platforms, you guys, because everything that we do right here for this podcast, we do for everybody that is on this show. Let's go ahead and just always give them the love and just share the love by sharing each episode. And thank you so much. So tonight I have a wonderful guest, a special guest. His name is Nathaniel X. Ross. He is an international speaker and life coach. He's the founder of Abundance Legacies, a nonprofit that he would tell you all about. And it's amongst everything else. But, remember, you got to like, follow, and share. I got to go through all my little spill, right? Like, follow, and share all of our platforms. I already said thank you about it, but I just want to remind you to like, follow, and share all our platforms. You know where we are. We're down at the bottom, and just continue to do what you do. And so I have one word from my sponsor, and I'll be back with Nathaniel Ross, and see you soon.
The warning signs your body is giving you? Do you sometimes feel the need to act like everything is okay and that you don't need help? Are you facing some tough physical and mental health challenges that you just don't know how to face on your own? We created the Men's Empowerment Group as a safe place where men can share their thoughts and challenges while also receiving judgment-free advice from their fellow group members. You no longer have to pretend that everything is okay. It is okay to not be okay. This free forum provides discussions related to financing, health, relationships, and other struggles that men face in their everyday lives. There are 1-hour-long weekly sessions in addition to the open forum, where you can learn from others every Monday at 7 p.m. Please check us out, www.abundancelegacy.org, to register.
Entrepreneurship, small business, is something that everybody would love to do, making their own money. And this is what we will be talking about on According to Sacha. Hey, Nate, how are you?
I am good. How are you today?
I'm doing well, doing well. How was your day? Did you have a good day, good week, all those good things?
I always have good days.
All right.
If I wake up in the morning and get out of bed, that's a good day. Everything else is gravy.
That's what I'm talking about right there. So I want to say once again, thank you for being on the show and gracing us with your presence. And I want you to tell all our viewers out there, who is Nathaniel X. Ross?
You know what? It's probably not the traditional answer that most people would hear. I am love. I am compassion. I am a leader, and I'm confident, and I stay in integrity. That's the essence of who I am. Now, there's a lot of titles that I hold, and most people put their titles up there when you go, who is Nathaniel Ross? He's a certified global life coach, empowerment coach. He's a best-selling author. He's a DISC analyst. So there's a whole bunch of titles up there, but that's not who I am. Those are just things that I do. And as we get into that, I'm sure we'll talk about that as well as the nonprofit and other stuff that I'm involved in.
All right, great. And I like the fact that you did lead with something that's not traditional. I had so many people on the show, and I always ask that question, and either they're stumped by it, they got to think about it, or, they come out with everything else, especially talking about family and so forth. But I love the fact that, you're talking about your essence of who you are versus the part of who you are. And it's like so many different things and how we look at it. And the fact that you hold integrity in all that you do. And that's really big when it comes down to being a business owner, when it comes down to being a leader in your space and all of those good things and making impact amongst people and around the world. So how did you become not just the essence of who you are, but who you are altogether?
That's a long story, longer than we have for this show. But it's through a culmination of life experiences and education. I made mistakes along the way, and turned those mistakes into learning opportunities, and worked on how to improve myself a little bit better each day. And since I'm an old man now, I've had a whole bunch of days under my belt to work on getting better and better. And each day I'm better than I was the day before. But it's through experience and through formal and informal learning.
Okay. So you have 2 books that's out. And one is The American Dream, and the other one is called From the Streets to the Boardroom.
Well, that's the same one.
It's the
The
same book.
American
Okay.
Dream, From the Streets to the Boardroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that, because I feel like that's really good in a time where, people, it's so many things that happen, up and downs, life happens and everything. And people are always trying to find that one space of how they can shift around and become somebody greater. So what was it? Not like I know it's a long story, but from just a synopsis of the title of the book and what that looked like for you and get into where you are.
So, From the Streets to the Boardroom, which is the American dream, or at least we say that that's the American dream, right? It's going from poverty to success or to riches. And it's really, again, it's the combination of experiences, the different crossroads, and the decisions that were made at each of those crossroads that has propelled me to where I am now. And it's being able to step outside of myself, and any individual need to be able to do that, to step outside of themselves and to look at you as if you're another party, look at yourself as another party, and start connecting the dots. So there are things that have happened to me. There are things that I have made happen. And there are people who showed up. And when I step outside of myself, I see, I met this person. And as a result of meeting this person, I ended up meeting this person here, or it propelled me to here. So, that's really the short answer, is just getting to those crossroads, making the decisions in those crossroads, and the consequences with those decisions. Good decisions give off good results. Bad decisions, not so good.
Right.
And that's not to say I haven't made bad results. I've just learned from those bad results and turned them around.
Yeah, I love, I was sitting here just thinking, there's something that I will always say about decisions. And I don't think a lot of people think about it, but each decision that you make is building a step on your future. It's another pebble towards your future. And a lot of times you don't really understand what that will look like until it comes up. And then you see, okay, well, I wish I had done something different back then, or, it catches up with you. It's like all the decisions will always catch up at a later time. And then you will look at it as, whether it's a consequence of it. Sometimes the consequences come up a little faster, but then there's those times where you feel like as if you made the right decision, or you made the wrong decision, but you don't really feel the full effect of it until you hit the future, which is the now, and you see the result of that decision.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's just like, it hit me one time when I was thinking about some things. I was like, I wish I had did this differently, because that path, it was so long between the decision and the result, that
But
came
you
up.
know what? And I think a lot of people go through that process. But if you could change it, then you wouldn't be who you are today.
That's so true. That is so
So, we look back and we go, oh, I wish I would have done this differently. Well, if that had happened, then that would have taken you on a totally different trajectory, and you would not know where your life would come out.
that is absolutely true. Yeah. So we can't change everything, but
Well, you know what? When I pray,
uh-huh.
I am grateful for all the decisions that I make, the ones that we label good and bad, because
Mhm,
that's who that those decisions made me who I am today.
mhm.
And if those decisions were changed in any way, I wouldn't be who I am today. So I'm appreciative of all the quote unquote good and bad stuff that happens.
Yeah, and that's the best way, the best perspective to look at it, because it just shows that how grateful you continuously be at all
Yes.
times and no
Yeah.
matter what. And yeah, that's really good. So I'm sorry, I just got stomped by the answer real quick. But it's like, it's that is so true. That is so true. So when everything that you do, you're a speaker, you travel the world, you're global, you're a life coach, and you have this men's group. So let's talk about this men's group that you have that's like the safe space for men to come together.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a men's group. We meet once a week. People can register for it through my website. But it's usually an hour. We run a little longer if we need to run a little longer.
Mhm,
We teach lessons on there, but we also listen and help people to solve problems, or to give them or for men to be able to exchange ideas. Men are isolated out there,
mhm,
because where society has put us in this position where men are supposed to know all the answers and they don't. And we pretend that we do. Our egos are engaged, and we pretend that we know the answers even though we don't.
mhm,
And we tend to lash out at our partners, um, when they point out to us that, where are we going, what are we doing, what's the plan, and we don't know it. We get frustrated. So the group is really to talk about, spiritual stuff, and it's not religious like driven of you got to be a certain religion. Just,
mhm,
the fact that you believe in God, and that you have a spiritual connection, or a connection to something greater than yourself. We focus in on health, because we don't like going to the hospital. So we have those candid conversations about going and get colonoscopies and, colonics and things like that, where men just turn up their nose, or they close down their ears as soon as they hear that kind of stuff. So we get into the health conversation so that we can get away from the stereotypes and the lies that are out there, so that men will go to the doctors and men will be able to preserve themselves for their wives and for their families. We focus in on careers. We focus in on the family, the importance of being in a family, and or the relationships that surround that family. A lot of men um, get married, and they have a single man mindset, and they take that single man mindset into that marriage, and it creates a lot of problems within the marriage. So we help them to make that shift. If you're going to be single, it's okay to be single, but
mhm.
you can't be married and be in a single man's mindset. So we have those types of discussions. The difference really being, um, what is the difference between a male versus a man, right?
Mm,
We're born males. You have to move into manhood. So we have those candid and candid conversations. We focus in on careers and challenges in the workplace that people are having, and how to navigate through that. Um, and we get into finances, how to help people improve their finances, to move from, one financial category to the next. Exchange ideas and tips on, how to get rid of debt, how to budget and live within that budget, and how to invest and become financially stable.
mm,
um, and then we talk about being involved in the community, importance of being involved in the community, and education. Understanding that in all the areas that I just talked about is simultaneous and continuous learning.
Mhm.
So that's in a nutshell the topics that we talk about in the
Yeah.
group, and it can go anywhere.
That's wonderful, because we always hear about, women's group and we have conferences, it's everything. Us women love getting together and we rarely hear about it with men coming together like that. So it's awesome that you have a group that would focus in on all the holistic needs of
Yeah.
the person, of the man. And, because it's like so many things that we forget that we are mind, body, spirit, and soul. And, we need all those factors to help us to become everything that we are. And for you to do that for men, it's very commendable. And, hopefully it will catch like wildfires and continuously grow. So in that way, more men can do it. And maybe it could branch off into chapters or whatever,
Let's
um,
hope so.
yeah, it's like grow like wildfire. So that's wonderful. And one of the things I was going to mention about that, with you being a life coach, there are so many people who are life coaches and they get out here and they'll coach, they'll do this one-on-ones, group sessions, but for you to have an actual group with the different components attached to it, um, takes life coaching on a whole nother scale, with life skills. And, you talk about the education, you talk about financial, you're dealing with, whether they're single or married and all the other components there is. So that's wonderful. Now you have that. And I know you have your business itself, and then you have a nonprofit.
Yes.
So I love to talk about the nonprofit because I know that you do so much more out of that. So just tell the people about Abundance Legacy.
Well, Abundance Legacy, I created that because there are so many people who financially cannot afford the services of a life coach or for the personal growth and development training that happens out there. Personal growth and development training is very expensive. People pay thousands of dollars to become better at who they are. But the average person can't afford that. So that's why I created Abundance Legacy, is to make it affordable to the average person. And in a lot of cases, what we do is the services are free, or well, there's no free lunch, right? The services are free to the recipient, but we acquire the funding necessary in order to be able to provide those services for them. And it really mirrors everything that I do in my for-profit company. It's just the reflection on the for free side of things, or the very discounted rate of my services from the for-profit side.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Now, everybody, I know that you're out there watching. Definitely chime in. This your comments, questions. I mean, you have a life coach here, you guys. You can ask questions tonight. And therefore, but I did put the link to the nonprofit. So definitely give a donation, because these services help other people. So you can always have a way of contributing to help others. So definitely, there's the link in the chat.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. You're welcome. So you do that, and so that nonprofit mirrors the actual business. So what do you feel like is more? You see more of the impact or the effect from? Is it the nonprofit or the for-profit?
I think the in terms of the end result or the impacts, they're the same,
Mhm.
because it's the same delivery of service. For me, I guess if I had to tilt the scales one way, it would be more towards the nonprofit,
Mhm.
because it's for people who just couldn't get the opportunity, right? And to see them be able to turn their lives around and to move forward is just it. I worked with one group of 10 families.
Mhm.
As a community give back, I spent 3 years working with one group of 10 families.
Mhm.
And I did that domestically, and then I did another 10 families internationally. And to watch them from where they were and watch them grow over the years into who they have become, that's very rewarding to me. Whereas on the for-profit side, I don't spend the long duration with people. I coach them for what they want to be coached for, and then I move on.
That's good. So let me ask a question. Now, in this, this narrative that's out these days with, because I have a lot of business owners that do watch the show. How important is it to have that balance with giving? Because, a lot of times people talk about, oh no, you can't always give everything away. Or you can't discount it. Or, if you discount it, it's not as valuable. But
Mhm.
then how can you speak to those who are out there watching and say, look, it is very valuable because there is a purpose behind it, and also a principle that helps to even help you grow even the more.
From the business owner's perspective?
Yeah, like with people
Okay.
who say you can't do all those things, you shouldn't
Yeah.
give away stuff.
So anyone that says you can't do it, that's them choosing not to do it. And I would
Mhm,
say if you choose not to do it, just own it and say, I don't want to do it.
mhm,
Um, we are a society where we are social beings and we are meant to interact with each other and we're meant to help each other. From a spiritual perspective, for those who, and again, it's not locked into any religion, but if you look from a spiritual perspective, most religions will tell you to donate, to give to the church or the synagogue or the temple or whatever it is that you belong to, because they use that money and they go out and they help the community.
mhm,
From a personal belief standpoint, a universal law, what you got to give in order to receive, and the
mhm,
more that you give, the more you receive. And as people become successful in business, they learn the more they help the community, the more they help other people, the more prosperous their business becomes. So it's all goes down to mindset as to whether someone choose to give or not. But I can tell you, if you do give, it spreads out and it helps in a processional way. It's
mhm,
like that pea being dropped into the water and the ripples out. That one thing that you may have done, whether you've donated your time or your money or your product or your service, that has such a ripple effect across the world that you don't know what the
mhm,
impact of it's going to be, or or how far it's going to be, right?
mhm,
So, and I'll give this example. um you can and I have had conversations with people where it just seems like an ordinary conversation, but they weren't in the best place in spirit,
mhm,
and I'm fortunate to hear about it, but and making them feel good, because my gift when I interact with people is to always leave them with some type of gift, right? So if I can make someone or help someone to feel good about themselves, that's a great thing. And I did this with this one person, and who knows, this person ended up having a phone conversation with a family member who was across seas. And then that person had another conversation. And so I had a conversation that went to 6 continents
mhm.
from a
Wow.
conversation that I thought was just a conversation between me and that person.
Yeah.
So we don't understand, and that's what I would say to people out there. You don't understand the processional effect of giving or not giving.
Mhm.
So give, help
Yeah.
somebody else out. You can't. I've learned that you can't own but so many houses, cars, boats, clothing, whatever. You can't take the money with you and you can't take the material stuff with you. So part of being successful is the willingness to be able to help other people.
Yeah, I
Did
love that. And, yeah.
I answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, you definitely did. And I was sitting here thinking, like when you were talking, I started thinking about some of the books that I love, like the Go Giver series and Think and Grow Rich, and
Yep.
books like that. Even I know we were all on the same platform recently, speaking in the DR, and you mentioned The Secret, and I I, I watched the documentary, so I like the documentary more so than the book. You get more out of the documentary,
Yes.
but being able to see that and knowing that there are these principles out here that, like you said, all religions really operate from, and the law of reciprocity and so forth. And when you hone into those type of things, or even with your own background, like for me, my belief in God and so forth, and faith and everything. So when you hone into those aspects of it, and you do, allow that to be how you serve in your purpose, and you give, and it comes back in so many different ways. And it's
Yeah.
not always monetary, but it's how you give.
So can I share a quick story?
Yeah.
Because I think this is a real important, it's probably more of a lesson than a story. I see, and people who are striving to become successful, whatever their definition of success is, because it varies depending on who you are and what you're trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk to people who want to become wealthy. And a lot of people want to become successful and they want to become wealthy, but they want to stay stuck in the way that they think and the way that they behave. And that doesn't work. You got to give up what you are in order to get what you want to become. Right. So in terms of this donation stuff, I just want to show a difference in terms of mentality and mindset.
Mm-hmm.
The average person gives because they feel like they're emotionally driven to give to whatever the cause is. My family member had diabetes. My other family member had a heart condition. Had a family member that had Alzheimer's. So you're looking at all of these different things. You go, this is what's motivating me to give, right? Because someone meaningful. And we give out of emotion. We're walking down the street and someone says, oh, will you buy some Girl Scout cookies? Or will you give to St. Jude's? Or will you donate at Christmas time? You got to put the money in the red pot. And people do it, right? Because they're responding out of impulse and emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why most people's finances are messed up. So their finances are messed up because of their emotional state of being, right? Mm-hmm. And they carry that over into their donation. So here's the difference. That's what happens with the average person. People who have money and the people who are successful, we sit down at the end of the year and we go, who are we going to give to for the next fiscal year and why? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we look at what percentage of that money is going to actually get to whatever the cause is, right? Mm-hmm. So if I'm going to give to popular charity A, and popular charity has buildings across the country, they have auto fleets, they have this huge staff. It doesn't matter how much money I give, only a fraction of that, pennies, is getting to the real cause of whatever that popular donation thing is about. Because it's a huge infrastructure to take care of it. Mm-hmm. Then I could do, okay, let's say now as I look at my nonprofits and who I want to give to, I can take one where I know that it's a new nonprofit, or it's a struggling nonprofit, or that it's an up and running nonprofit, but 95% or more of that money is getting to the direct cause, right? Now, as I plan out my fiscal year and my contributions, I want my dollar to have the most impact on the area that I want to have an impact on, as opposed to pennies going there. Right. So that's also something that has to shift. It's not just, oh, I give money and I feel good about it, but is it effective in where it's like you're planting seeds, but you're planting seeds in non-fertile ground. So what are you doing? Right. Yeah. Find the fertile ground where that money is going to really reach the people that it's going to reach, that's going to make a huge impact, and donate there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's really good. And that's a good focus on how you can, make sure that it's happening.
Yeah, but you know what it also does? Mm-hmm. When somebody asks you to donate, you can easily say no, because you've already determined who you're going to donate to and why.
Yeah. Just putting in some comments up here. And that's really good point you just made. And somebody else says, amazing work and great concept of what you've been talking about. That's really wonderful. I love that perspective about giving. And like you said, we don't want to be emotional about it. It's good to have the emotion,
Yep.
but just do it better. Do it in a way that is going to actually be impactful and help that nonprofit and the people that they're serving. So we have one more video to play, and it's
Okay.
about your podcast. So I'm gonna play the podcast video and segue, and we'll go into talking about the podcast
Okay.
and a little bit. And yeah, we'll be right back.
Have been going down the drain lately? Like you just don't have the drive or the passion to do your best anymore? Do you feel like your life is slowly falling apart and there is just nothing you can do to make the situation any better? The Real Choices, Real Life podcast is meant to serve as a lifeline for those of you who need that little extra push to get your life back on track. Our motivational speakers and lifestyle coaches are here to show you how to navigate through your most difficult days. The podcast is hosted weekly and features guests who share their own real-life difficult experiences and the real choices they made to navigate and pass these difficult times. Tune in today while on your way to work or even while cooking dinner for the family. Please check us out, abundancelegacy.org, to register.
Yeah, I love the fact that how you have, like, I love to call these assets, the collaterals, that supports everything that you do in a way of giving back. I look at it as, like the men's group, the podcast, these are things to say, okay, you know what, we can help, we can serve people. We have this arm here where we give through our nonprofit. We have this arm here where we make, we give through the for-profit, but we also have the different assets that,
Yes.
You can leverage in a way of continuously impacting so many people. So how often do you do your podcast?
It's weekly.
Okay.
And, my co-host, Jessica Curran, and I, we talk about any and everything. We have the hard discussions. It's not about entertainment. It's about talking and having discussions on truly helping people navigate through life and telling you stuff you don't want to hear. So, people get pissed off at me all the time. And I'm like, okay, it is what it is. And they can either take the information and say, look, someone shared something with me that would not have ordinarily been shared, and use it, or they could throw it into the trash. But that's what life is about, choices, right? So you choose, and then you live with the consequences, which we were talking about earlier. People are where they are. But the podcast is there to make people think about things from a different perspective. It's not a comfort show. Where you're going to call and know the personalities of the people, and we're laughing and joking around. And don't get me wrong, we do laugh and joke around about stuff, but we're there on mission to talk about how to make your life better.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And so many in this day and time right now, that's needed because so many people are going through so many things, especially since COVID happened. Well, we're still kind of in whatever.
We're still dealing with it, yeah.
Yeah, we're still, but it's like that the height that everybody went through, that emotional, that physical trauma, that everything that was happening. And now, not only that, but now we have like, okay, are we in a recession or not? Like, what's going to happen? It's like, being in that place of not knowing, but then also that's society wise, but then it impacts your life because if you're already in that space, then it still spirals you around like, what am I going to do? So it's good that you do have that podcast to really deal with the different things that people are really going through and help them to make their lives better.
Yeah, and a lot of what we're putting in place is stuff that I wish I had growing up that just wasn't there for me. There was nowhere for a group of men to be able to talk. So, it's like, it's kind of funny. I was raised in the foster care system, and I would always dreamed and hoped that my rich relative would come and rescue me, and which never happened. Right. And that was my fantasy, and it was okay. Yeah. But the lesson that I learned from that is I became that rich relative. Right. And so whatever it is that I didn't have that I wanted, I've now created so that other people can have the stuff that I was looking for. And, that's through the men's group. We got a women's group that meet once a week. We got a hump day group because it's tough for people just to make it through the week. We do this podcast so we can have these real life discussions. We do quarterly lives where people can call in and talk with us. So it's about really making it available to folks who would not normally have access to, right? So I'm sure everybody knows by now that you were up in New York going to NASDAQ with the big up there. But you're going to come on to my podcast, I hope. And how would people, that people aren't getting that exposure to you that are in my network or within the group of people that I'm servicing, right? So for somebody of your caliber to take the time to come on my show and talk, and those people get exposed to that, that's what it's really about. I have all my friends that are successful, my doctors, my lawyers, and everybody, and they're like, "We're on your show. Just tell us when to be there." Right. But these are people now that are being exposed to an audience that they would not normally be exposed to. And the audience are now tapping into a set of expertise and experiences that they would not have normally gotten.
Yeah, and I love that, and I will be on the show. I do love it because it's all about, it's the connectivity. Like you said, we're by nature, we're social beings. So whenever we can connect and grow, each one, you're not really pulling each other up, but you're taking each other by the hand and say, let's go, let's walk, let's do this thing. You're going to go in your way, you're going to go that way, but we all need to come together in some form and help each other out and be that link. And I think sometimes some people get scared of that or that fear sets in. It's like, okay, well, I don't want to link too much because what if that person is going to be more than me? Or, what if this and what if that? I know here in my area, we call it crabs in a barrel, or, other people can do so many different things. And it's like, but we have to, I love my analogy is we have to be like ants. Ants come together. Ants will, as small as they are, they build the biggest mound. They carry the biggest piece of whatever as small as it, and they just move. All you see is the little thing moving, but it's something more smaller carrying it. But when they do things together, they're active, they're in synergy, they're in motion, and it just flows. And so when we can do that as people, all of us, how much more do we build? How much more do we gain? How much ground do we cover when we do things collectively or through connectivity? And I really, really like, everything that you're doing, and I love it. So we're almost about to close out. Okay. And I want to, make sure anybody out there, if you got anything, any comments, any questions, go ahead, throw it up real quick. We're about to close out. But I do want to put your information up here so people will know how to get connected with you. I know you're on all social media platforms. You're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, I believe. Yes. But they can go to your website and, follow you there. And
but you know what? And if they go to my website, send me an email. I answer my own emails.
Okay. See, hey,
a lot of people don't, but I answer my own emails and respond.
Yeah, that's it, you guys. He is not unreachable. So it's like you haven't disconnected yourself from, being able to respond and to still engage. And that's really good. So thank you so much. So if you have any final words, what would you love to leave the people with?
Oh, a final word. I'm going to say this because I was watching TV last night. Well, actually, I was watching YouTube. And I looked at this one thing, the 15, the people who passed in the last 15 months. And granted, it was celebrities, right? Mm-hmm. And it was all the people that I grew up watching, right? And I'm like, oh, this is horrible, because when you see them as their character, and you see them staying that age as their character, right? And when they show their picture and they show the before picture and they show them at like 84, 85 years old, and you're like, no, they can't be. So my last word is, look, we get one shot at this. We get one shot at this. And I know that there's some people that believe that there's multiple lives, that some people live multiple lives, but you get one that you're consciously aware of. And if you get another one, you're starting from scratch and you're not consciously aware of the one before. So you get one shot at this. Remove the excuses and get out there and do whatever it is that you want to do and accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish, because you got one shot. Make it count.
All right, one shot, you guys. Make it count. When that buzzer is there, you're going to make that shot, make sure it goes through, make it count. And all that. Thank you so much, Nate, for being on the show. It's been a pleasure having you here. I know everybody else have enjoyed it. And you guys make sure you continuously watch, share this video, share the live. Other people need to hear this. So make sure you get it out there. And on that note, everybody, I want you to be great in everything you do and command your day. And on that note, I'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.